Happy Wellness Wednesday, everybody. I'm Danny Flynn, and this topic is very close to my heart. I'm so glad that you guys have shown up today to hear about this. And I think it definitely is worth the conversation. We're talking about, it's National Minority Health Awareness Month, which is a thing, apparently. I just learned about, but it really is important that we have this conversation, especially for people of color, right? And we're going to be talking about Black people, Hispanics, Indigenous people, and other underrepresented people. And this is a conversation that you may want to share with some of your non-people of color counterparts, especially if you're in the wellness industry, right? Because it's helpful for them to understand some of what makes us who we are and some of the challenges that we all deal with. And hopefully you'll understand a little bit about you too, about some challenges maybe that you have when it comes to this idea of health and wellness, right? There's just a lot of people that would tell you, well, you got to eat right, you got to work out, you got to just do the thing, just do the thing. But it's not just about willpower, right? It's just not about willpower. Unfortunately, people of color, particularly African Americans and Hispanics, the odds were stacked against us before we were even born, right? And these are facts, and I felt the need to include my sources on this particular slide. This particular presentation, because I want you to know that I'm not just making this stuff up. There are statistics and lots of research behind this. Black adults, this is from the CDC, the black adults are 60% more likely to get diabetes. Hispanic adults, 50% more likely to die from liver disease. Then we have other stats on the slide. 1.5 times more likely to have high blood pressure, Black Americans. Hispanics, 50% higher to have type 2 diabetes. And this is all in comparison to white Americans. Native Americans have a high rates of obesity linked to chronic disease like diabetes and heart disease. Black women, 3 to 4 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related complications than white people, right? It's a huge disparity. And then at the end of the day, white Americans live 5 years longer than Black Americans. I feel like that might be a little low, but that's what the CDC says. And it has to do with healthcare, income, and environment, right? And so we have things that are stacked against us from the very beginning. So why? How did that happen? Well, chronic illness, right, has been passed on for generations. And it's because of things like oppression, redlining, food deserts, and generational trauma. Generational trauma. We'll talk a little bit about that in the next slide. So slavery, segregation, all of that has an impact on our health. I remember being in college and some of my white students, so that classmates would say things like, and just in all honesty, they don't, I don't think they realized how it landed, but in all honesty, they would say like, I don't really understand what the big deal is. Like, slavery is over. And it's like, yeah, it might be over, but there's generational trauma that is as a result, even down to this day, right? And then you have systemic racism, policies like redlining, which is where they denied Black Americans or people that lived in a certain area access to banks, access to insurance, right? Then there's also just this overall mistrust of the healthcare system. You think about studies like the Tuskegee syphilis study, right? Which directly impacted Black men. They were intentionally left untreated just so that they could get the study effect. So you have things like this. All of this is plays into what we deal with today, and what we see. Many of us here tonight are in the health and wellness field, and we see this maybe with our customers or our business partners, and maybe we don't understand why. Maybe we get frustrated, and we just have to remember that it didn't start with us. Trauma is passed down. Now, there is science that proves this now. It's called epigenetics. I'm super glad that they're looking into this. In fact, at doTERRA's convention, or at a doTERRA event recently, Dr. Riggs talked about his brother who had, when he was a kid, his brother had a vicious dog attack. And when he had children, his children automatically were born literally they were terrified of dogs and they didn't know where it came from. Well, it was genetically passed on. Science proves that trauma alters how our genes are expressed, right? There are studies about the grandchildren of Holocaust survivors, kids who in Puerto Rico who have PTSD from community trauma, indigenous populations who have high autoimmune rates, right? So all of this is passed down. Then you add on their stress, abuse, neglect, all those types of things that happen in underrepresented communities or communities that are oppressed or don't feel like they belong. This is a serious thing. It's a real thing. And science is now proving this, right? And then on top of that, stress, right? And likely because of that, stress makes any disease you have worse. And in some cases, it is the cause of dis-ease or disease, right? It's not just in your head. It's physically impacting your blood sugar, your hormones, inflammation, and your immune system, right? So think about some of the chronic stressors that are in African American communities or in underserved communities. You've got unsafe housing, the projects, right? You've got workplace discrimination. You have lack of access to things, lack of information, right? So it's not that we are weak or that we don't have the ability to do better for ourselves, right? It's that we are living under pressure that literally breaks the body down. Literally. This is the situation that we're living in. The APA Stress in America report says that Black and Hispanic adults report higher levels of chronic stress, not just situational stress, but chronic stress in comparison to white adults. And they are less likely to receive effective treatment for it for various reasons. On top of that, right, we're just kind of like, you see what we're doing, like we're layering, right? On top of that, we have a mental health crisis in these same communities, right? And what I want you guys to hear is that mental health is physical health. It is. It's linked, it's created. And in our communities, or it's related. But in our communities, it's often dismissed, especially for the older generation, right? Depression, anxiety, burnout. We're told or we tell people to just push through it, tough it out. You got to be strong, right? But the reality is, like, we as a community need to stop that. Right? We have to normalize getting help and supporting ourselves and supporting others, and really, if we need therapy, get it. If we need to take a break, say time out. We have to really start to take better care of ourselves. Again, another stat for you: over 30% of Black and Hispanic adults with mental illness receive no treatment for various reasons: stigma, cost, lack of access, right? This is what happens in underserved communities. And so it's hard, right? It's really hard for us, right? But it's not impossible. Right. I think it's important that, we as the demographic on this call, right, Black women and in a health and wellness role, understand all of the things that are against us, but also to understand that we're not powerless in this. There are things that we can do to help break the cycle and to take us from a place of just being in survival mode to thrive, right? And I'm sure most of you here have are a faith a faith base, and you lean into that. But while we're here in this situation, there are things that we can do. There are simple things that we can do to help disrupt what has been passed down and what we have to deal with it. The goal is not to keep repeating it, it's to try to rewrite it, right? And I love this quote: we carry the weight of history, but we also carry the power to heal it, right? So what are some things that we can do? Well, I feel like this is the beauty in this conversation, is that wellness can be simple, right? 70%, guys, 70% of chronic health disease can be prevented through lifestyle changes, better nutrition, exercise, and stress management, drinking water, right? I think sometimes we think that these things are too simple, that they won't work. But these small wins are the things that make a huge difference in your health and wellness. So just a bit about my story. I was, I don't know, probably like 35 and maybe 32 when it started. I was my doctor put me on high blood pressure medication at 32, and I felt like that was number one. I thought it was too young, and I was also seeing a holistic practitioner, and he told me, he's like, you don't have high blood pressure, you just don't know how to manage stress. And I didn't know the correlation, right? And so he really encouraged me to do things like breathing exercises and massages and talk therapy. So that's kind of what started my whole quest into natural health. That started at 32. By the way, I'm 47, right? And I still don't have it all figured out, right? Just little things here and there. Um, and my doctor had me on blood pressure medication. I went ahead and took it because she scared me. I got on the pill, but my goal was to come off. It was to come off. And so eventually I was able to do that, and how I did that was through doTERRA. So when I was introduced to doTERRA, for me, they made it simple. It's like when you're looking at yourself and your life, maybe you're like, oh, I'm overweight. I know it. I'm not exercising. I keep on eating cookies, right? Like whatever the thing you're dealing with. I don't drink water. I drink too much alcohol. Like we know the things that we aren't doing, right? We know them, and we may beat ourselves up. I say this thing to myself when I am doing something I know I shouldn't be doing. I say to myself, I'm aware. I'm aware. We know that these things are happening, but how do we change it, right? For me, doTERRA made it very simple because I had this running list of all the things that I wanted to change, but it's like, where do I even start? I don't even have the energy to know where to start. And that's when someone introduced me to doTERRA. And the first thing that I did was I got on a very high quality supplement system, right? So I took doTERRA. At the time, it was called Lifelong Vitality. And I got on that system, and I got some oils, and I started playing around, and all of a sudden I started sleeping better. What? This is how people sleep? And then I started having energy. And literally distinctly remember saying to my husband, like, is this how normal people feel? Because I was always tired. Always. That's just how I operated. Always had headaches. So it started small, and then it gradually has grown into, now I drink over 100 ounces of water a day. That's my habit now. My goal is to get 8,000 plus steps a day. That's now the habit. I work out. Guys, I'm working out like 5 days a week. No, I know it's crazy. We're going to hopefully see the benefit of that fruit real soon, the fruits of the labor real soon. But this is now all become my lifestyle, right? The way we shop, the way we eat, the fragrances and things that we bring into our home, all of these things started with some good quality vitamins that gave me the energy that I needed to figure the rest out. And so I don't want anybody here, when you're talking to other people, to be afraid of starting small, because those small wins make the biggest difference. So I really encourage you, take one thing that's on your list of many to change, and start working at it, right? Yes, we have a lot of things against us, right? There's that saying that our genetics loads the gun, but our lifestyle pulls the trigger. So what are some things that we can do to really start to change things for ourselves, for our families, for our communities, right? For our children, those that come after us. And I just want to applaud, because I believe the vast majority of you here are wellness advocates, and people of color. And that's where it starts. Other people of color making the changes and having a voice to show other people that it can be done, right? So more water, daily walks, better sleep, setting boundaries. We're going to talk about that hopefully next week. All of that will really help us to start this process. And one of the things that I'll say too about my time with doTERRA, and many of you maybe can co-sign on this, but for me, doTERRA helped me reconnect with myself. So like my body speaks to me, and I understand it now. Like, oh, you need water. Oh, you need to stop, take a nap. ground yourself, go walk on the grass, right? What are some things that we can do to help support ourselves and be more in tune with our bodies, right? And that's why I'm so grateful for this path. And hopefully all of you are in a similar place, right? So, healing is a journey. It's not a destination, right? This is going to take a while, right? I've been in this for over 7 years at this point, with doTERRA, but even longer than that in a holistic lifestyle, right? You're not looking for perfection. You won't get that right now. That comes later, right? um, so my recommendation for you is to just every day make steps towards this lifestyle change, right? Even if you have bad days, well, don't just wallow in those bad days. Like, okay, you ate the cake. Now we move on and we get a couple extra steps in, right? We start over, right? That's what we need to really be focused on. Mayo Clinic says people who make small, consistent lifestyle changes, like walking 30 minutes per day or drinking more water, have a 50% overall health improvement after 6 months. Just simple things. If you've never read the book, The Compound Effect, I highly suggest reading that because it also underscores what happens when you make just little changes consistently. They add up and eventually you have a whole different life. Now, I want this to be a little bit interactive. I know we don't usually interact here, but I'd love for it to be. 80% of people who set small, achievable health goals are able to actually follow through compared to those who are like, I'm gonna lose 50 pounds in 2 months, right? So I'd love for you guys to share maybe some of the things that you have done, some of the things that you are committed to doing, some of the things that maybe you just started. I would love to hear just one thing that maybe you can share with the rest of the group that might be encouraging.
I'll share.
Yeah.
For me, the lifelong vitality was my opening to uh, this wellness journey. And now taking the VMG has been life changing. Like going from 12 pills to four
Right.
once a day, got it. 2 minutes, it's
Super
been life
simple.
changing. It gives
Yeah.
me the energy to do all the things on the checklist.
Yeah. And it feels good, right? To be able
Yeah,
to like, okay, I start my day out taking care of
of
me,
me. Hmm.
right? And it sets you up for success. And it's so super simple. I love that.
Yeah.
Latanya, did you want to share as well?
Yeah, the VMG for me, I'm just starting really. I only use the oils mainly like to diffuse and so forth. So I'm learning how to use them in other ways, but the VMG has really made a difference in my life. It's something I've done consistently for over a month, and I'm really not consistent at hardly nothing. So I'm glad that I think it's because it's so simple and it's one and done. It's
Yeah.
not something I have to remember later on. So yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I was going to ask you what do you think makes it consistent, but yeah, I think that's what we're seeing across the board. It's just easy. It's just easy, and we all want to feel better, but when it's so complicated, don't forget you got to take 6 pills at 8 a.m. and then another 6 pills at noon, and don't take it too late because then it's gonna right. Like it's so much to think about, and we already have so much on our mind. Plus, we have all these cards stacked against us that we have nothing to do with, right? So yeah, I love that about VMG Plus. So if you're watching this recording or if you're here and you don't know what VMG Plus is, that is one of doTERRA's rapidly becoming doTERRA's best-selling product. It's amazing. It stands for vitamins, minerals, and greens, VMG. Vitamins, minerals, and greens, plus essential oils and a lot of other really good stuff that your body needs. And every week at 8 p.m., we offer a class about it to just kind of give you a deep dive into that 2-minute system that changing lives all over the place. And we're so excited. So we would love for you to join us next week. Join us at 8 p.m. next week to learn more about VMG Plus and how it's game changing. And then we have another comment in the chat. I do my own. Oh, this is interesting. Joy does her own 30-day challenges where I pick up one thing to do consistently to make it a habit. I love that. Joy, could you share maybe the last thing that you did or what you're currently doing?
Yeah, my video's not working, but I started first time with VMG. So I'd be
Okay.
consistent and for 30 days. So now it's just easy peasy, right? A habit.
Yeah.
Now I'm doing the Meta Power,
Mm,
and I don't take the collagen, but the other two together for me helps with sugar cravings, food
mm,
cravings, and I can tell I just feel less bloated. So I'm
nice.
really excited about that. But for me, it's like if I can do it for 30 days, I can do this. So I just pick
Yes.
different stuff. I picked an oil 1 month. I'm gonna learn everything I can about this oil and use it consistently. So
I
now
love
I
it.
have digestion under my tongue every day. So
Yeah.
that's how I'm trying to tackle it.
I love that. I love that. Outside of oils and supplements, what are some other things that you guys do that contributes to your overall health and wellness? Felicia Gant.
I have been consistently working out, like you, 4 to 5 days a week, for over a year now. And I actually started it because my cholesterol was high.
Mm,
And so I was trying to control my cholesterol after COVID. We did nothing but sit, and I work from home, too. So I got a stand-up desk. I have a walking pad under my desk, so I'm doing at least 10 hours of standing, every day, walking like you. My goal is 5 to 8,000 steps, a day. And all that contributes to my cholesterol got down. People are noticing, I don't even notice. They're like, "Oh, are you losing weight?" And I'm like, "No." And like, "Yeah, you are."
I'm just taking care of myself.
No, you're just taking, good care of yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. And I feel like when you do that, when you prioritize sleep and you pay attention to what you eat and all of those things, you don't have to be focused on weight loss. Weight loss comes because you're taking care of yourself, right? I love it so much. Anybody else want to share? Amy Riley.
So I work very hard on going to bed and getting up at the same time every day. Tuesdays is rough because the meeting, but I try to be in the bed between 9 and 9:30, and that alarm goes off at 4:45 every day,
Love it.
even on the weekend. So
What you doing early, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning on a weekend?
going out in the ministry.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just to keep the body in a rhythm of, hey,
Yeah.
this is the time that we get up. So even if I don't set my alarm,
Your
my
body
body
gets
is
you up.
getting up at quarter to 6 at the latest. So
Yeah.
I'm sleeping in. I got an hour's worth of sleep in.
Yeah.
But
I love
yeah.
that. I
Mhm.
love that. Tanya.
I'm
Latanya.
I'm also in therapy. I got myself back into therapy after losing my mom
Mm.
unexpectedly. And it's a good thing. I'm telling you, you gotta take care of your mental health because it affects how you view caring for yourself. With your mental
It
health
does.
is going down, you don't feel motivated to do what you need to do for yourself. So I'm glad I jumped back into that. I'm still in it, working through some things. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think I actually strongly believe that everybody should have a therapist. I think that
I
should be
agree.
part of our, we have physical doctors for physical needs. We need doctors for our mental and emotional health as well. Because as you said, a lot of our health issues come from
Mhm.
trauma. So yeah.
Mhm. I love that. I'm so glad you mentioned that because in the Black community, I assume it's similar in with other people of color, but I know for sure in the Black community, there's a stigma, or there has typically been a stigma associated with seeing a therapist. Um, but I agree with you. There's nothing like it because you got to work through some of these things, and especially Black men who are just so used to just bottling stuff in and holding it. It's a crisis. It's like, no, you have to be able to release, some of that. And it's just so sad because, when you look at the rates of high blood pressure and diabetes and all these things, like you talk to people. I had a conversation this past weekend and she's like, no, it runs in the family. I'm like, what runs in the family is lifestyle choices, how we cook, how we eat, how often we move, et cetera, et cetera. What runs in the family is generational trauma, right? But these diseases are controllable by us. We just have to feel like we have the power. But so many of us are like, oh, this is what is happening in my life. So I just gotta resign myself to it, but no, we don't. And so much of it does come from stress, the inability to manage stress and take care of yourself mentally and emotionally. I love it. Thank you for sharing that. Well, ladies, I appreciate you guys joining me so much today, and thanks to everybody who watches the replay. If you're watching the replay, we'd love for you just to reach out and let us know some of the things that you're doing to take care of your health as well.